Just started writing down all my thoughts. And I'm like, you're a terrible mother. You fail. You can't keep up with this. You're not good looking. And I just wrote out everything that I felt. And it was just a whole page of condemnation. And it was just like he proved to me that he was faithful to his promises. He told me he loved me unconditionally. He proved it to me. In my spirit, I just felt like I'm such a baby in Christ. I mean, I know nothing about God. I have such a wrong view of God. Not that I knew I had a wrong view. I just knew that all I knew is I just keep failing him. On a daily basis, I just keep failing God. I judged people. I gossiped. I would go through the cycles where I'm good. I go to the conference. I'm great. And then I fall down again. And that cycle just wore me out. I was like, there has to be more than this. I can't have high highs and low lows over and over again through the cycle. And just that works mentality. I just felt like I just was not doing enough, and it was never enough. So spirit, soul, I felt like I was a bad mom. I felt like I was a failure as a wife. I felt like, I remember like one time I was driving from a Bible study meeting and I had to pull over because I'm just like, the condemnation was just overwhelming. And I sat down and I just started writing down all my thoughts. And I'm like, you're a terrible mother. You fail. You can't keep up with this. You're, blah, blah. You're not good looking. And I just wrote out everything that I felt. And it was just a whole page of condemnation. And it was just like, it was just, it seemed like everything in my mind was all negative, and I'm just failed at everything. And so in my soul, I just felt like, how can I get out of this? It just seems too broken. And then in my body too, I felt like, I just had my 4th child when I moved here. I think that season, I just saw myself so broken. And I remember saying, God, like, gosh, where are you going to begin, Lord? You have so much work to do. This is going to take ages for you to work on me. Because I remember sitting in Bible study with these women, and they're like, interpreting scripture to me, and they're like reading this stuff, and they're talking about Revelations, and she's memorizing Bible verses. And I'm like, I just made it here. And I did my hair, and there's, I brought a snack. I brought something to the table, and I felt like I was contributing. I was like, God. And I remember even saying to God, I was like, if you would just download all of this revelations to me, you're God. Like, you could just breathe that into me, and I would know all these things, right? Like, why don't you just do that? There's just so much work. God is going to take you forever. And now I think back and I look at my life, and I'm like, man, these past 10 years, because it's been 10 years now since we moved to Florida. And I'm like, it has been that beautiful process. And it was me, like, we're talking about like humans take time, things take time in our hearts. And it was him working on one thing at a time. And it was deep and it was long, but it's so worth it. I look back 10 years, I'm like, oh, wow, I've come a long way from who I was back then. Very insecure, very broken, very inferiority mindset, timidness, and the process that God has been taking me. So I think it was really important for me to like go through the things one by one, because it helped me also, I think, relate to people and to be able to see that in people. Like, I relate to people that are broken because I came from such brokenness, and I see them and I'm like, oh, you don't have to be there. I was there. I know. And so me processing those things, I think, were really important for me.
I'm just thinking, if you work through this in your strength, like you put on the face with makeup and all this, or you achieved something and all that, you would, and you have the heart to teach, to show people the way and so on, right? You would be showing them pride. You would be showing them self-achievement. You would be showing them, and our job is to point to Christ, point to Jesus. And you know how God says, I won't give the glory to anybody. You know, I've struggled with that phrase for some time, like selfish and all this. Why, God, are you doing this? But in reality is, we can't handle it as one, you know. We right away become rotten and full of ourselves and so on and so on. But when you have this journey, and then you point to people, look, I was there, but I'm not the one that did it. And all of a sudden this woman or a guy says, there's hope, because I know I'm not strong. I've seen myself, but I can just come to Jesus. you know?
Yeah.
So I like this. I
Yeah.
like this.
I think the second year I was here, I got to go to IDT, and again, there's a couple things that really helped switch gears for me, and one of it was like renewing my not renewing, resetting who I thought God was. Like I've
Mm-hmm.
known of God all
Mm-hmm.
my life, I've heard about Him all my life, but I needed to get to know Him for myself.
I went through this time where I would read the Bible. I mean, I read the Bible throughout the year and
Yeah,
so on,
yeah,
right? And I remember, especially Old Testament, when you read it, you're like, God, you're such a strange God to allow this and this and this and this. And instead of accepting God, I would question God, right? And for me, the reset of God, I like how you put it, the reset of my view of God was this. I read the Bible without questioning who He was. So if I read a passage, if I read a story, if I read this, I'm like, okay, God, so this is how you are. Would you explain to me why you did this? And not in a questioning, condemning way, because we can condemn God,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I would ask Him, would you explain why? Why did this happen? And so on. When I read the Bible that way, all of a sudden I saw God for who He was, you know?
Yeah.
So this reset of the view of God, how did this reset happen for you? I mean, this was how it happened in my life.
When I got the opportunity to go to Bible college, I got to go for 4 months through IDT and SMES, and I went into that season, and it's so interesting. Like, one of the things that really helped me were people speaking into my life. And it was a season when Matt McCluskey actually messaged me before I even went into Bible college. He messaged me on Facebook. He said, I feel like this is going to be a season where you're going to be resting on His chest. Like, it's going to be a season of rest. And I'm like, okay, like, I don't know what that means.
You have
I've
4
never
kids at the time, too.
experienced that. Yeah. But also, like, I've never experienced that because I've only just started to learn about God in a different way. I saw Him very much as a God who punishes, as a God who wants righteousness, who demands righteousness in my works and in my thoughts and in everything. And I need to keep up with it. And I just knew that I was a failure. So when He was saying I get to rest on Him, I'm like, I'm not even worthy, you know? And so I came in, but I made this decision. I was like, I've known of God all my life. I've heard about Him all my life through people, of how they teach Him, what they experienced, and how they perceive or how they interpret their experience. That's all I know of God. And so and here's an example. One of the biggest views I had of God was, if I would draw closer to Him, if I asked God, I'm going to come, and I did this, I think 2 years before we moved to Florida, that's 2013. I got down and I prayed. I said, God, like, I am so no longer, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm no longer okay with the Christianity I see right now around me, in me. It was so shallow. Like, you go to church, you serve, you do your thing, but then you come home and you gossip and you cook and you clean and you get with your friends and you talk about this. And then in 5 years, like, well, she got a new house. Well, I need a new house. Well, she got a new car. Well, I need a new car. I just need to keep up with the Joneses. And so, like, I didn't want that Christianity anymore. So I said, God, I don't want this fake thing. And there was a lot of situations that came that brought religious church to a point where I saw that it was no longer a relationship thing. This was a very religious kind of stuff. There was a lot of things that happened where I'm like, I don't want to be a part of this club. That's what it was. It felt like a club to me. And so I was like, I don't want this. If you're real, I want to go all in. If you really go back to it, there was a season where I stopped believing in God, where I was like, all of this is fake. We're all just playing church. We're all playing club. It's all fake. And then it was through Him, like, speaking to me. It was funny because I was still teaching Sunday school. I had the teenagers, and I was teaching them every Sunday, every other Sunday.
Believe in God.
And I'm teaching them Bible lessons, but I didn't believe anything I said. I was just teaching them. And then we went to a conference in Atlanta for teenagers, and they were showing this video about cells and how all the cells in the body work and how everything works together. And it's just so magnificent. And I'm looking at them like, this is the stupidest thing. Like, how are they trying to get through teens through this video?
Yeah.
But I was watching it more, and they were explaining more. And I was like, wow, like, God did create the body. And so I, as the leader of the teens, was in the lobby. They had like a table where they had little booklets of like, are you really there, God? Are you really real? I'm the one that was getting those pamphlets, sticking them into my purse. And I came home, and I was like, and I was reading through them. And I remember I was in the bathroom and I was praying. I was like, God, I could see that you're real, but I don't know who you are. I just need you to show me that you're real. I need to see proof. And I think it wasn't the one thing that happened. It wasn't like a one-time situation in that season. I call it my Jacob season, where I wrestled with God. I was like, who are you? This is not a God I want to serve. This is the God of my parents is who I'm serving. And that season when I struggled with him, when I told him I don't believe in him, I don't believe in the system, I don't believe in church, and this is all I was just so hurt by how things turned out in my past church that I was like, I don't want this. So it was a season where I was struggling with the Lord, and then he started showing up in ways I was like, that was not a coincidence. Like how there was like a prayer, something would happen, or I'd read something, I'd just open the Bible and he would speak to my heart. I'm like, well, that was weird. That was like, that never happens to me. So I was like, wait, you're real. So when I was like, okay, if you're real, I think it was like a year into that. I was like, if you're real, 2013, I prayed. I was like, if you're real, I want to go all in. If I'm doing this, I want a deep relationship with you. So going back, the lie was, in my mind, the lie that I was taught inadvertently, I don't think it was like something that was pushed, I think it was subconsciously, is that if you're drawing close to God, he will do it through punishing you, through bringing you to your knees to the point where you have nothing. And then he's gonna come and encounter you, and then you're gonna be like, so in my mind, I was like, okay, I pray to God, God, bring me closer to you. And I'm like sitting back, I'm like, okay,
waiting for it to
I'm
happen.
about to have a car accident. My husband's going to cheat on me, or my child is going to be born with a sickness and is going to make me sit in the hospital for months. And that's when I'm going to cry out to the Lord. And that's when he's going to respond. And that's when I will reach that level of Christianity. I felt like it had to be through tribulation. And I was so funny because I shared that with my mom years later. And she's like, where did you get that idea from? And I was like, Mom, every time something would happen bad, everyone in church would be like, oh, you see? Like someone would get in a car accident on a motorcycle.
God is speaking to you.
God is drawing him in. And then it would be like something else would happen, a divorce, like there's a divorce happening. I see God's telling them to humble them. Like, so it's always a thing of like something happened, like, oh, that means God is drawing you in. I prayed for God to draw me in. The only way I knew of God drawing people in was through tribulation. So I remember I was driving down the road with my kids, a freeway, and the lanes were merging. And I didn't realize I was distracted. And I only noticed at the last second that I need to merge. The side things were there. And I merged, almost hitting a semi-truck. Like I was just boom. And in my mind, my thought is I missed my chance.
Oh my goodness.
Like that's where my mind was like, that was my opportunity to end up in the hospital and get down to my knee. Like that's what religion did to me. It brought me to a point where the only way God would love me if I break down all the way. So when I went into that season of IDT, I said, I want to know God for who he is, not based on what people have taught me, whatever. And that was a season where he had to prove to me, not had to, but he took the time to prove to me that he is faithful and true. And this is how it went with me. I believe that I'm not good enough and I'm a failure every day. It's a works-based mentality. And I keep reading the Bible verses where he's like, you know, you're loved, you're good, you're righteous. I'm like, but I'm not because I yelled at my kids. Well, I'm not because I cheated on this. I'm not because, and I think it was for like 2.5 months. Every day he would tell me, but my mercies are new every morning. And I'd be like, I know, okay, but like I did it again. And so I'd come back to him the second day. I messed up. I failed in this and I didn't do this. And he's like, and my mercies are new every morning and I still love you. Yeah. And then I would come to him the other day. I messed up again. I did the same thing as I did yesterday. And he's like, and my mercies are new for you every morning. And I'm like, it got to a point where a month later, I kept telling him how bad I am and how much of a failure I am and how unworthy I am. And he would just always keep coming back. I love you and my mercies renew every morning, start again. And I got to a point where I'm like, can't you see how messed up I am, God? Like, are you living in this, like, don't you see who I am? And he's like, and I love you. And my mercies renew every morning, start again. And I think that's what broke me, was his love. Like, it wasn't the fear. It wasn't the religiousness, the disciplines, the praying every morning. I was doing all that. It was all out of like, I'm checking it off. I'm being a good Christian girl. It was him winning me over with his patience, and his love and his mercy. To me, I got to a point where I'm like, I can't win. I can't fight you. Like we could keep doing this forever and you're always going to tell me you love me and your mercies renew every morning. He's like, yeah, every day. I'm like, wow, that's good. He's like, yeah. And that's when the phrase to me, God, you're good. Like, oh my God, you're good. You're a good God. You're such a good God. You're good. And so when I started reading the Bible through that lens, I was like, he's good. So even verses before where they felt like condemnation because I felt like I was not good enough. Now the mind shift, my mind shift happened where I'm reading that same Bible verse. I'm like, oh, I'm good. Like he's good. I'm okay. I'm still like loved by him. And so
and you believe it actually.
And I actually believed it because he proved to me that he was faithful to his promises. He told me he loved me unconditionally. He proved it to me.
This reminded me of my breaking point.
Oh, good. Good.
Can I share?
You want to share? No.
Yeah,
if that's
please,
okay. I don't want to take your time,
no.
but I remember this was already after I had already been leading Bible studies, after I did all the things God told me to do, and I still felt like I wasn't enough. I was still struggling with that like self-worth, earning, just kind of that religious mindset that I'm just not good enough. And I went to a retreat. I did not want to go to this retreat. I don't know how I ended up at this retreat. There was a hurricane and it got canceled, but I still got picked up by some girls and they took me to this retreat. That it was just interesting. And I was driving to this retreat and I'm like, I know I need to go there because God needs to fix me, because he's going to reprimand me. He's going to tell me how I have to do A, B, and C. And here's where I fall short. I get to this retreat, it starts. And one night we have a prayer and I'm praying. And I experienced the Holy Spirit, the Lord talking to me in a very real way. And instead of reprimanding me, he says, I'm so proud of you, my girl, like my daughter. He spoke to me like a child. Like he's like, I love you and I'm so proud of you. And I was just broken by that moment. And I just expected to be corrected. Because I've been corrected. And I was seeing God through the lens of like, he needs to correct me and fix me because I'm broken. And in that moment, he just loved me. And that moment was a huge shift for me and a huge turning point, because I now wasn't trying to earn his love. I knew I had his love and it had nothing to do with me. It had nothing to do with how good or how bad I am, but everything to do with who he is. And from then that was a healing moment for me for sure.
What changed in your life after that? And I know this, I mean, this sounds like it was a specific.
It was a pivotal moment for me. That season, I think, was getting to know God for who he is based on his word and just different teaching. I think I started listening to different teachers. And there's three things that really affected me. If I really go back to it, there's three things that really helped me grow. It was my IDT season, a season where, and it's not the program itself, it's the season where I got to break off all of just the world stuff for a season and just focus on my relationship with him. It was a season where I got to spend extra time in the word. I had different teachers come in and speaking different truths that challenged what I thought of God. And so that season really helped me. And then the second thing was community, which was, for me, was a Bible study group that we met every 2 weeks. And they also, the same thing, they challenged me of what I believe. They would walk in a few steps ahead of me where I'm like, I want to be like that too. I should be memorizing scripture. Or I want those kind of revelations when I'm reading this book, or even the seasons where, like I said, I had to break down first. I had to see where I was, and it was really broken. I remember there was like 5 months when I would come to the Bible studies every 2 weeks. I would force myself to go. I don't want to go. I feel like a failure. Even though I know this now, but on a soul level, I still felt like a failure. I felt like I should be stepping up more, doing this, but I just didn't know how. And so literally I would come to Bible studies and I would just cry for 45 minutes. So we would have worship for the first 45 minutes and then we'd do Bible study. I would come and I would just cry for 45 minutes and then I would listen to them. I would barely participate. I'd go home. And then I'd come back 2 weeks later, force myself to come back. Again, just cry. And those women, I'm so thankful for them. They just went around me in a time when all I wanted to do was isolate myself, in a time when all I wanted to do was just hide and stew in my pity and stew in my brokenness and my, again, this is a long process. It's not a
What gave
one-time
you the
thing.
strength to force yourself to go?
I feel like I knew intrinsically, like I felt like I knew inside of me that if I stayed home, I would stay in this place. The
So you
enemy
wanted
just,
to get out.
I wanted to get out
So because you saw God?
because I knew there's hope. I knew there's something can change. Whereas before, maybe a couple years ago, it would have been like, this is just who I am. I just knew that, like someone asked me this when I went to IDT, they're like, how can you share your life with people? Like, because, like students come from around the, the nation, and they come and they tell me their life story, and and then they leave. And no one knows them here, right?
Yeah,
I don't know them. I don't know their family. So there's nothing but me. I lived here. So I'm sharing with the woman that goes to my church. I'm sharing with the leaders that go to my church. And I'm like, they're like, how could you share your story with them? And I got to a point in my life where I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired of spiritually. I think I got to a point where I was like, I just don't want to be here anymore. This is like, I don't want to be this broken anymore. So I went through the IDT season that helped, but then going to the Bible study groups was like, I went through a different facet of that. And I was just like, all I wanted to do was stay home and hide. And I just knew that if I stay here, I'll stay here much longer. And so I forced myself to go. The enemy will want you to hide in those areas. He wants to isolate you so that he could play the same mindsets, the same mind games on you, where it's like, well, you're just a failure. See, it didn't work. You tried. You went to Bible college. You're doing Bible study. What do you know? You're still in the same cycle. You're still broken. You're still yelling at your kids. You're still doing this. You're still not good enough. And he just wanted me. And that's what he does to anyone. And that's why I say anytime you want to isolate from people, unless it's God telling you to isolate for like a season to like, you're spending time in prayer and fasting, whatever, that's one thing. But anytime you want to hide from people, I say run the other way. You need to run to community because you need a sounding board. Be like, I'm feeling like this. To like, that's not right.
Yeah.
That is not right. You're right. Like, I should not be thinking this way. And just being around people that were in a few steps ahead of me and that would just talk about hope. And I'm just sitting there and I'm not participating and I'm just listening. But it would just help bring like nuggets where I'm like, walk away with like, oh, I remember that. I remember that feeling about God. I remember he told me this. I remember he promised me this. So it would just reignite little by little, but it kept me going until like I had to again go through a surrender season and stuff. So IDT, Bible college, a season where I spent time with the Lord, my community. And the third one was a mentor, just a mentor. There's a few specific mentors that really impacted me. And I think that's important on a different level because mentors, like when you have a Bible study group, it's like, it's on everyone basis. Like it's the standard where everybody is. When I met with a person one-on-one, I was able to get down to the soul level, to like the root of my problem and talk it out, hash it out. And that's what these people showed me. These mentors that I've had through my lives, people would come into my life in different seasons. And first mentor was I was sitting in Panera Bread with Nelia. And I was like, I feel like I don't measure up to everyone here. I don't have the house. I don't have the car. I don't have the looks. I don't have like my family doesn't look this way. Like, how am I supposed to fit in? And she would just share her life and she would just give me hope. And she'd be like, and then she, just meeting with her. And then with her, I remember the verse that really stood out to me that she taught me was there's no more condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. Like, and that to me, when she explained that to me, I was like, wait, what? I don't live in condemnation anymore. Like, I'm no longer condemned. The law of sin and death no longer applies to me. It's not a works like that, like blew my mind. And that was a person that met with me at my level. So the three things that really changed me, community, that season in Bible college, and mentors are really important in my life.
One thing, I love what you're saying, but this thing stuck out so much. The isolation, when we run from whatever it is, that's isolation, and that's to the opposite. When we run to God, it's still alone, but it's not from, it's to.
Yeah.
That's when it's healthy. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. So our school director, Jack Wilcox, that passed away, a year before he died, he shared this with our school, and I really love this analogy. He said there's cows and then there's buffaloes. I don't know if you heard this before. So cows, when they see a storm coming, they run away from it. And then buffaloes, they run towards the storm. And he says the difference is cows will run away, but the storm will still catch up with them, and it will go on with them with a longer duration of time before it passes them. So they end up in the storm much longer than they're even supposed to be. The storm is not that long. But buffaloes, they go into the storm. That means they're going opposite direction of the storm. So the storm happens. You still have to deal with the thing. You don't avoid it. It's not like going at it. Like, you still have to deal with the hurt, the pain, whatever it is. But going at it, and I think that's what the Lord is like, going at it, be like, Lord, I'm stuck in this. Help me. It passes by so much faster. So I feel like the season that I was in, it could have been a year-long season. It could have been a year and a half where I was been in the same place spiritually, emotionally, if I didn't go head on against it. Like, I'm just sick and tired of this cycle in my life, and I want to break this in my life.
If you didn't get sick and tired of it, would you just keep going that way?
I feel like it would have taken me longer. I don't know. Like, if I didn't, I wouldn't have gone at it with much more, like, if I hid behind a pretense of I'm fine, I would not have uncovered the things I needed to uncover in my life.